Hey everyone, welcome back to the Primal Professor. Did you ever pick up one of the keto-friendly snacks and take a look at the back and under the ingredients, or on the front actually it'll advertise net carbs, and you think, oh, this is great, awesome. And then your eyes sort of wander off to the total carb count and you're like, wait a minute, can I have that? Well, that's what we're going to talk about today. Total carbs versus net carbs. And we're going to help you make the best choice for your ketogenic and low carb lifestyle. So first things first, let's talk about the definitions of each. So total carbs refers to, and if you turn the back of the product over and you look at the ingredient label, you go down and it actually lists total carbs. And that is made up of grams of carbs that include all of them, the fiber and sugar alcohol. Now net carbs takes that total grams of carbohydrates and it subtracts fiber and the sugar alcohols. So let's do a quick example. If a food has 20 total grams of carbohydrates and 10 grams of fiber and 5 grams of sugar alcohol, then the net carbs for that product would be 5 grams of net carbs. Simple, right? Not so fast. Let's take a look at fiber. We can deduct it because fiber does not increase your blood glucose level, and therefore it doesn't have an insulin response. And we know most of the metabolic syndrome and metabolic dysfunction is because our levels of insulin are too high for too long throughout the day. That's called hyperinsulinemia. And so fiber doesn't really have an impact. Actually, it helps that. It helps to slow down the breakdown of any kind of carbohydrate in your body. So it could have a lowering effect. Now, let's talk about sugar alcohols. Some, like erythritol, do not elevate your blood glucose level. And so you can have them and include them without worrying about having an insulin spike and a blood sugar spike. However, there are some like maltitol that do increase your blood glucose level. And guess what? The food manufacturer loves to use them because they're cheaper. Okay, so allulose. Allulose is a natural sugar that's been around a while, but it's gaining popularity because we're finding it has some beneficial effects similar to the GLP-1 inhibitors. It kind of keeps you full longer and it does not have a big impact on your blood sugar. So that can be deducted from the total amount of carbohydrates. And it's a preferred keto-friendly sugar substitute now. I would say it's gaining very much in popularity if you want to give that a try. But you have to be careful. These keto products take advantage by stuffing labels with hidden digestible carbs, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in a little bit. So let's do a little bit of myth busting first. Myth number one, if a food has 0 net carbs, I can eat as much of it as I want. Absolutely not, no. Too much fiber or sugar can still cause digestive disturbances. How's that for a diplomatic way of saying it? In other words, if you're not used to them, you can get, even if it's erythritol, it's not harmful to your blood sugar, but some people can have diarrhea or bloating or GI distress from it. If you take it in large quantities, it could do that. If you take it in small quantities, there's no issues whatsoever. I think it depends on the person. So the myth number 2 is all sugar alcohols are safe to deduct. That's wrong also. We mentioned maltitol, but there's sorbitol as well, and both of them have negative effects on your blood sugar. So you really need to read the labels carefully. And then myth number 3. If you count total carbs, your diet will be too strict and you will miss out on healthy foods. That's not necessarily true, and I don't find that to be true at all. So, for example, you can have good, nutritious whole food like berries, avocado, and yes, while avocado and nuts are a little bit higher in carbohydrates, I just plan for the day. So, to give you an example, my breakfast is typically eggs, maybe some cheese, some bacon or sausage, and butter. So I have a high protein, high fat breakfast. And then I know if I'm having chili that night, I'm gonna be able to put half an avocado on my chili and a little bit of sour cream. I plan for it because I'm the one cooking, so I know what my menu is gonna be the rest of the day. If I know I'm having a steak for supper, then I might have the avocado alongside my eggs and make like a Mexican scramble and put a little bit of habanero salsa on there and a little bit of sour cream and some avocado. So I enjoy nuts. I enjoy dairy products that have some carbohydrates in, like high-fat Greek yogurt and cottage cheese. So I find it to be very satiating, very satisfying, and actually delicious. And the thing I want to say is, in the beginning, you might need these sugar alcohols and these keto treats because you're going from a high carb, processed food oriented diet to a whole foods diet. You've got to wait till your palate changes. And so one of my favorite things I eat every day is high fat Greek yogurt. And I'll take 2 strawberries and crush them and put them on top. I'll put a little bit of my favorite keto sweetener in, which is stevia. I have it in a liquid form. And I get unsweetened coconut flakes, which gives me a little crunch, and either crushed pecans or walnuts on top. And I'm able to fit that in under 20 grams of carbs a day. I don't have any problems. Now, if I'm having that, I'm not going to be having a half an avocado that day, right? I could if that's all I'm having in the forms of carb. But you can adjust and plan and keep your grams of carbohydrates low, and with whole foods. So I really don't think I'm missing a lot. The other thing I want to say just here is when you get rid of the ultra processed high sugar foods in your diet, they're engineered to be addicting and to get you to crave more and eat more. Once you get them out of your diet and you give it a good month or two, when you go to a birthday party and maybe you taste a little bit of cake, it tastes so sweet and you can't even eat it because it's overpowering. And that's something you never would have noticed unless you took a break from eating like all those processed foods. So what happens is you learn to enjoy eating whole foods, and then your body will tell you what it's hungry for. Again, I don't feel it is limiting, but to me it doesn't feel that way anymore because I know how much those foods harmed me. All right, let's take a look at the pros and cons of tracking net carbs. So if you're tracking net carbs, you get more food variety. You can enjoy nuts, veggies, and keto-friendly products. I still say you can enjoy that on total carbs, on a strict ketogenic diet though as well. You just have to plan accordingly. But it is easier to stay under your daily carb goal. So the cons for cons of tracking net carbs is that they're sneaky marketing, and some companies are misleading in net carb counts. And there's sugar alcohol confusion, and some spike your blood sugar while others don't. So make sure you're watching the maltitol and sorbitol. And again, they're in a lot of, just because it says keto, I keep warning you all about that, doesn't mean that they're not putting some of these bad sugars in. So what are the pros and cons of tracking total carbs? Well, it's stricter. However, it ensures better ketosis and blood sugar control. So one of the reasons why you bring your carb count down so low is that you want to be in ketosis, because there's so many health benefits from that. And if you look at my video on good fats, bad fats, I go over a lot of those. But in general, when you're producing ketones, that's saying that you're burning your own body fat, right? So you're able to tap into your fat stores while keeping your blood sugar down. And again, the cardinal rule is if blood sugar is high, insulin is high. And if insulin is high, you cannot burn your own fat. Insulin tells the body to store any fat that you're eating. And the other pro about tracking total carbohydrates is that you're pretty much going to end up eliminating processed keto junk food and every kind of junk food. And we know, if in that video I just mentioned, or the good fats and bad fats, it really, the bad fats they put in this processed food is just as harmful as straight sugar, if not more. So what are the cons of tracking total carbs? It can feel restrictive, and I'm not going to lie, I felt like that in the beginning. Some whole and healthy foods like avocados and nuts can have high total carb counts, but if you plan your meals, like I said, you can enjoy them throughout the day and regularly. So who should track net carbs and who should track total carbs? So I think if the people or the person who should track total carbs are if you're insulin resistant or pre-diabetes or diabetic, okay? If you want to try to reverse or put those conditions into remission, whatever term you like. I had pre-diabetes. I reversed it. I'm saying I reversed it. And I never became type 2 diabetic. I was able to stop it beforehand, but I reversed it so that my insulin resistance is gone. And there's a few biomarkers that you can measure to say that my insulin level and my metabolic syndrome is gone. But you can ask your physician to do a fasting insulin on you. That's very telling. Your insulin levels go way up, way before your blood sugar goes high. So that's really the way you diagnose prediabetes, is by testing your fasting insulin levels along with your glucose. So for years, I never became diabetic. My insulin levels were normal, but I was 254 pounds, but my insulin levels were way up here. So when your pancreas starts pooping out or the insulin resistance gets too bad, that's when the blood sugar spikes. Okay, and so if you're trying to reverse or prevent any of those conditions, I say you should follow total carbs. Also, you can, if you're including a lot of those keto products, or you're just, even if you're not doing keto products, but you're just counting net carbs, count net carbs one day and then recalculate it under total carbs, so you really see how many carbohydrates you're taking in a day. And if you're struggling to lose weight, or you're having cravings, or you have a stall, then a real easy way to kind of break that stall is to go back to count total grams of carbohydrates. Okay, so conversely, who do I think should track net carbs? Well, if you have metabolic flexibility where you can burned stored fat, you're thin, you're not carrying extra weight, you're especially not carrying the abdominal fat, then you might just be proactive and trying to be healthy, and you want to avoid sugary foods and processed seed oils. That's great. You could track net carbs. Okay, you may even go higher on carbohydrates. There's a whole spectrum, and I'll be looking for that video next week. That's coming out. The low carb spectrum, from all the way from carnivore to no grams of carbohydrates, all the way up to paleo, where you have 100 to 150 grams. And we'll talk about that next week. But you might just be trying to improve the things you're eating to prevent metabolic disorders. So net carbs is fine for someone like that. And if you want a more sustainable approach and you're not getting any ill benefits from that, you can count net carbs and maybe indulge in one of those treats along the way. Okay, so for best results, this is my best advice, putting on my, and again, this is advice. I don't know your personal situation. I am a health coach, but since we are not working one-on-one and I don't know enough about everybody, this is in general, my best advice that I can give. Stick to whole foods. If you're tracking net carbs, think veggies, nuts, and dairy. I think that are better options. Be cautious with the keto packaged snacks. Check ingredients carefully. And when in doubt, total carbs are a safer bet than fat loss and ketosis. And I'm going to quote one of the persons I really watched early on and got to meet at one of the conferences, and that's Dr. Westman. And I'll keep saying this because I don't know who sees what videos of mine, but he studied under Dr. Atkins, and what he said is, if you want keto to work every time and all the time, he said, then keep your total grams of carbs to 20. So and what he's talking about is for those people who have some metabolic dysfunction and need to lose weight. It works every time, all the time, if you keep your total carbs under 20, okay? And I still follow that today because I do have a genetic makeup that if I bring too many carbs in my life, man, belly fat right away. I had my genetic testing done. I'm prone to it. So I live 20 grams of carbs. Maybe I go to 22 or 23, but never over 25. Oh, what's the verdict? Should you track total carbs or net carbs? If you're struggling with weight loss, insulin resistance, prediabetes, or cravings, because remember, some of those keto treats can trigger some of your cravings. Tracking total carbs is probably the best approach. It eliminates hidden carbs, it keeps you in a stricter state of ketosis, and you'll gain all the health benefits from being in ketosis. Now, if you prefer a more flexible long-term approach and you can tolerate fiber and some sugar alcohols well, then net carbs might work for you. Just be mindful of sneaky marketing tricks and experiment and see what works best for your body. At the end of the day, the best method is the one that keeps you feeling great, achieving your goals, and staying consistent. Slow wins the race. Consistency, when I talk to my health coaching clients, consistent. And when you adopt this lifestyle and you sort of forget about it and you're on autopilot, the next thing you know, you turn around, oh, I'm down another few pounds. So experiment and see what works best for you. Have you noticed the difference in your progress with one method versus the other? Drop a comment below and let's discuss. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so that you never miss a video. And if you want to get deeper into about the ketogenic diet and a low-carb lifestyle, check out my video on good fats and bad fats, and look for the next one coming up on the low-carb spectrum. Where will you fall? See you in the next one. Stay keto, stay healthy.